much money have you seen successful school owners in the U.S. make?
You can have an academy with students paying the average fee. You can extract around 35% profit. If you have that system in place, your profit could go to 50% easily. If you have, let's say, an academy that has 100,000 revenue a month, you can have 50,000 profit, clean your pocket, which goes to 600,000 a year.
Welcome back to the BJJ Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ford. My guest today is a coral belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a 4-time world champion, a 3-time European champion, a Brazilian national champion, and a Pan Am's champion. He was a veteran of Vale Tudo, and he was also a UFC veteran as well. He's a really successful author with 2 books, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Advanced Techniques and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Basic Techniques. He's also the very first black belt under the legendary master Romero Jacare Cavalcanti. He's also one of the founding members of Team Alliance alongside Master Jacare, and he's coached the team to 14 World Team Championships. He's produced some of the best black belts in the world, including Marcelo Garcia, Damian Maia, Bernardo Faria, Tarsus Humphreys, Michael Longhi, Bruno Malfacine, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to be joined today for the 3rd time on the show by Master Fabio Gurgel. How are you today, Fabio?
Very good, Ryan. Thanks a lot for having me. It's a pleasure to talk to you again.
It is always a pleasure getting to pick your brain, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Fabio, I know that right now you're on vacation. I've been following you on Instagram, and you're into surfing. You're like fully into learning how to surf, and you look like you've been doing it forever. How long have you been surfing now?
Oh man, it's about a year now, and I just bought a piece of land close to São Paulo where they built a beautiful wave pool, and I'm having a lot of fun learning a new sport. You know, it's been challenging but fun at the same time. And I'm here, spending the week off and put some effort to really learn surfing. It's been amazing.
That's incredible. I mean, you look like you've been doing it for way longer than a year. You look very comfortable, and it must be the jiu-jitsu. You got your balance, technique,
probably,
everything.
Yes. We had a say in the past that if you were a black belt in jiu-jitsu, a purple belt in anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Think how humble you are, right?
No, the wave pool thing looks perfect too, because you and I have talked in the past. I want to surf really bad, but I'm really afraid of sharks. But a wave pool, that puts all my fears at ease. I have nothing to worry about in a wave pool. So I'm gonna have to try to find something like that.
Man, I bought my partner from San Diego to surf at the pool, and he said, "Wow, this is amazing. You know, the water is warm and there's no sharks." Yes.
Exactly.
That's how hard it is to learn to surf here, right? So it's much easier. And the waves are always the same, so you can keep going, keep trying, So there's no way to don't learn.
Yeah. Well, it also looks like it's really organized. Like it doesn't look like it's overcrowded, so you don't have to worry about like crashing into people.
No,
I know there's a lot of like etiquette that you have to learn on the beach if you're surfing, not getting in people's way and taking your turn. But it's something like that. It seems like it's much more independent and free,
Oh yes, and of course we from Jiu-Jitsu we won't have that kind of problem of fighting if we get some problems out there on the outside. But the problem is, the good thing is the pool that's very organized. There's waiting for everybody. Nobody needs to to rush to get any wave. There's a line and you go there. There's maximum 14 people per session. Usually it's much less than that. Yesterday, the last session that I did, we had 4 people only. So it was like, non-stop rotation, one wave after another for 1 hour. I catch 20 waves, in 1 hour.
Wow. Well, see that now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why you look like you've had so much more time than just 1 year, because you're getting so much more repetition than you would normally get. Yeah.
My plan, I'm here for 10 days now straight, right? So I'm going to probably surf 9 days, and my plan is to take 300 waves. during this time. So to take that, that amount of waves on the sea, man, you gotta, it takes forever, You never find that amount of waves, to surf. So that's the beauty of the pool. We don't have that, the beauty of the nature, but, for the sport, it's amazing.
That is incredible, man. Well, someday I'm going to try to make it up there and jump out there with you.
Anytime you want.
That would be amazing, because the only thing holding me back is sharks. That's the only reason I don't get in. So
I guarantee you there's no shark in the pool.
How horrible would it be if someone just put a shark in the pool the day I get there? Like, they're like, hey, Ryan's coming in. Throw in a shark. Let's make this interesting.
Not very likely.
Well, Fabio, I appreciate you being here again. There's a lot of people out there listening who I think aspire to become black belts and open their own school someday. And there might also be black belts tuning in today that already have a school, or maybe in the process of opening their own school. And you run not only one of the most successful academies in the world, but you're at the forefront of managing one of the largest jiu-jitsu affiliations in the world as well, where you help countless school owners run their academies efficiently. So if you don't mind, I'd love to focus today's conversation on just the best practices of school ownership, because I do think that these are,
I think it's a very important topic, not just for those guys that, wants to leave of jiu-jitsu, but I would say that for the whole jiu-jitsu, because the whole industry will benefit if we have more practitioners doing jiu-jitsu. And that's, in my opinion, in my point of view, is the only way to, to make that professional dream come true. We need more people, more audience, more people involved, willing to spend money in order to pay our athletes, which this is the reality that we don't have nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because, like, with the rise of these big paying events, a lot of people are saying, man, we're finally making money in jiu-jitsu. I would say it's not that we're finally making money, because there are a lot of people that make good money running schools and having associations and things like that. I see what they're saying about the athletes making big paydays. Of course, that's very exciting. But man, there's tons of opportunity for people that want to teach and spread jiu-jitsu through a school to make a really nice living. So I appreciate you being here to lend us your expertise.
Yeah, just one thing on top of that, Ryan. My question for those people that are believing that now is the time for the athletes, they are making money, is there anybody making money with the events? So the events they are paying a good money for the athletes are also making money. Because if the answer is no, and which I believe it is, that's the correct answer, no. So probably that days, will pass very fast, because people will get tired to put money in order to get some return. And when the return doesn't come, they will stop. And of course, jiu-jitsu is an incredible thing, and we have a lot of passionate people that wants to do something about it, So sometimes they are willing to lose a lot of money in order to build an event or be somebody in the industry. But money doesn't work like that. If you don't produce more money, of course that source is gonna be over soon. So should the athletes putting all the eggs in that basket? That's my question.
That's a very, very good point. Yeah. And I'm with you. I think that ultimately, I hope these big paying events are able to find a way that their model can have good ROI and that they make their money back to keep making new events, at the very least to break even, so they don't lose anything and it's just a passion project. But man, that is a lot of money. So we'll have to see how that.
Exactly. And the athletes are getting it more expensive and more expensive every win. Right, so if you get 20 grand to fight and you win, you expect that next fight you're gonna get more, and then you're gonna 30 grand, and then you expect that next one is gonna be more. And if the event is not getting money itself, how they can support the athletes and pay and raising the bar and raising the money for every for every win you have. And I think the only solution, to be honest, I think that's the fastest, right, is if you grow the audience, if you grow the number of practitioners that are falling in love with jiu-jitsu and love to see, then you have a chance because people will pay to watch. And then comes another question. Should the rules change in order to be more attractive? Because you know that it's not nice to spend, hours and hours, in the jiu-jitsu event to maybe see one or two fights that are, exciting. Yeah. So we have another challenge. It's not an easy equation to solve. We are discussing this for quite a while, and nobody has the answer yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a tough one to figure out. I think that I love what you said, though, the importance of for the athletes themselves to, obviously ride this wave and see how it goes, but definitely don't have everything invested in just being a full-time athlete. Have some future plans set up. And that kind of brings us right back to owning a school. I think that being a teacher and having an academy, man, there's people that make a really nice living running schools and building eventually to more than one location and growing a global affiliation the way that you and Jacare have. So let me kick things off by asking this. I think that something a lot of people have concerns about when they're deciding if they should open a school or not is they wonder about what their competition credentials should be. In your opinion, do you need to be a decorated, successful competitor to open a successful school?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think there's one thing that you need to pay attention if you are a young athlete, let's say, that, of course, your athlete career has a deadline, and you don't need to be a genius to know that, right? There's a deadline. When you come to 30-something, that's going to be very hard for you to keep going. So you need to prepare yourself for the transitions. And the best time to start this process probably was 10 years ago. The second bad time is right now. So you need to start preparing yourself for what jiu-jitsu is going to need in the future. And of course, we're going to need good instructors. We're going to need people that knows how to do the analogies from jiu-jitsu to life. So what's the jiu-jitsu benefits for regular people? How can I understand better people in order to, to provide a better service? Because that's what instructors is, a service provider. You're not the star of the thing, that's I think there's a misunderstanding when you think about jiu-jitsu instructor. You are there to serve your students. You need to switch and start seeing things from a different perspective, which is the perspective of your client, of your student, right? So when you are champion, you are just answering your question. We are very, let's say, decorate champion in jiu-jitsu. There's no way that you don't become a little selfish, because you need that in order to be a champion, right? So it's all for you. You are the only one. You have to win everything. You have to beat up everybody. So you are the champion. And then when you stop and say, oh, now I'm going to be a teacher, you have to turn 180-degree angle curve to go to the other side. Because being a good instructor is to serve people. And not being the star, not being the best in the room is the opposite. And I think people are struggling a lot to do this transition if we don't combine things. So while you are an athlete, I like to use the example of Tainan Dalpra, for example, right? So he's probably the best guy in jiu-jitsu right now in terms of competition. But he's teaching every day, all day, right? So he's training or he's teaching. He's building his career as instructor, together with his athlete career. When he stopped to compete, he already built something. And then they start combining, okay, let me see now. I am a good instructor. Maybe it's a time for me to understand how the business works. How can I have my own school? And then you combine another two. And then you start building one brick on top of the other in order to build a wall. And I don't really believe that jiu-jitsu is a sport that you can focus in only one thing. I believe you should understand, in a much broader way, in the sense that you have to study other things. If you are a good athlete, you're gonna train 5-6 hours maximum. You're gonna sleep 8. What are you gonna do in the rest of them? So you should get something that's gonna help you to do the transitions.
The growth of jiu-jitsu has led to so many people opening schools, and so many people, and just the growth of the industry has been really exciting. In the old days of jiu-jitsu, at least in the United States, there was kind of this unspoken 20-mile rule, meaning that it was considered common courtesy to not open your academy within 20 miles of another school. But with the exponential growth of jiu-jitsu in the last 20 years or so, it feels like that rule's kind of faded a little bit. What are your thoughts on picking locations for a school and the ethics involved when it comes to moving not too close to another school?
I don't see competition in that way. I think competition is beneficial for the industry. So let's say you are in New York, and then you're gonna set the 20-mile rule. You're gonna be out of the island.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. So you're gonna be the king of New York alone. So I think that's very complicated when you try to set a distance between schools. Even for us in Alliance, we have our rules pretty simple. It's 1 mile only, and you shouldn't look the competition as a bad thing, because imagine if I am in let's say I'm around New York, and then I have another school, jiu-jitsu school, opening a block from mine. What happened is there's more people talking about jiu-jitsu in that area. I'm going to get some benefit out of it. Maybe one guy goes to that school and the other guy wants to go in the opposite direction. So I get one student. There's so many things that can happen. But the point is, nobody steals the students from nobody if you are doing a good job. I never saw, I already opened, I would say, more than 100 locations from Alliance. We have 300 schools right now, but I can say that the 100 locations, the last 100 locations that we opened, of course, they are close to other schools. We don't have that move. People don't leave their own gyms to move to Alliance or to any other school. We are just talking more about jiu-jitsu, and this is good for everybody. This is beneficial. So my message to the school owners is, don't be afraid. Take the opportunity to look inside and see what you can do best to your students. They won't leave you. Of course, if you are doing a shitty job, everybody's going to leave you at some point. But we have in jiu-jitsu that sense of belonging. And nobody wants to steal the students from nobody, But we want to grow there. And if you have a good location school, and of course somebody's gonna share that location with you, that's the market. We should respect the free market and the free choice from the students. So I'm totally against any kind of regulation in terms of distance. I don't see that as an ethic thing. I think you are ethic when you don't talk bad things about the other people. You don't try to steal the students from the other school. You just do your thing. You just promote your school. If the students wants to join your school, fine. But that is their choice. You cannot change that.
And I really do think that these days, with the growth of jiu-jitsu and the popularity of it and the amount of people wanting to share and teach it, it's really unrealistic to have those kind of 20-mile rules, especially in a place like New York.
In the beginning, maybe it was a strategy that works to spread jiu-jitsu even more. Yeah. Because if you get 20 miles distance and, you're going to cover a much larger, land if you get that rule. But now comes down to the best place, to the best market. When we search for a location, it's gonna be very hard to find a good location in terms of demographics and average income that nobody saw before. So probably gonna have few academies over there too, and that's fine. When we go and when you find a Starbucks, you look to the other side of the street. There's also another coffee shop, right? Because they know that there's a good place where people walk by, and that's why they put the coffee shops over there. So that's free market.
Yeah, and some people like Starbucks, and some people hate it, and that's exactly what you were saying. Yeah, I love what you said. Yeah. People who know good coffee always say, I don't drink coffee myself, but the people that seem to know more about coffee don't like Starbucks. Yeah.
Exactly. That's last case scenario, if you see me on the Starbucks because I couldn't find anywhere else.
That's so good. Well, it goes back to what you were saying is I love that you said the importance of just focusing on your product and your own efforts, because eventually you're going to find the right people that want to train with you and learn from you. And that's very true. I mean, it shouldn't stress you out that another school is nearby, because ultimately you're going to find people that prefer your product and your personality type and your style over the other people, and you'll find those people. So I think that's really important that you said that.
And look, we are talking about very, very, very tiny percentage of the population. Yeah. That's the jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. So I think our job is mainly convince people that never did jiu-jitsu before to start doing it. So I'm really not worrying about getting students from other schools. I want to build new students from scratch, because I'm not thinking about, that's another point, right, that's really important. I'm not thinking about competition when I build a school. And what I see a lot of people doing is they have the dream to be the coach of the best team in the world. They want to produce world champions. They think that they're going to get recognized when they reach that level. But this is not true. I think you're going to be way happier when you have, when you be a instructor that change people's life. Regular people, your students from the white belt, and you build that guy from the scratch to get the black belt. That's the real job. That's the real thing. You get the super athlete and make that guy a champion. It's not a big deal. I've been there many times. I'm telling you, it's way more important for you and way more important for jiu-jitsu that you focus on people that never did jiu-jitsu before and be a good instructor for them. You're going to help the industry like 1,000 times more than if you focus your school and become a competition, team. Because you're going to have a few people that are willing to pay the price.
I could see it being much more fulfilling and enriching to take someone who's severely overweight and with no confidence and comes in a year, they're a completely different person. You've changed their life. They got their kids involved now. Their kids are on a good, healthy trajectory. That's got to be pretty rewarding when and that's most people in jiu-jitsu. I mean, that really is. Most people are people that
I'm going to tell you a story, Ryan. We opened a school in London. And by the way, it's like 20 minutes from Roger Gracie School, right? And we don't take any students from Roger. There is no problem involved, get along. That's all good. But the story that I'm going to tell you is about a father. I was in the academy, and a father, came to me and said, I'm thinking about putting my kid to jiu-jitsu. So I was walking by, and I saw one kid coming to the school. And I looked at the kid and said, you know what? I want my kid to have that posture, to have that confidence when he walks on the street. The kid that he was talking about, it was one of our instructors. So the brown belt, 19 years old, a Brazilian guy that had just arrived in London, a few weeks before that happened. And the guy barely spoke English. So see, that guy just came from Brazil. He's one of our instructors. He's 19 years old. He's barely speak English. And he had that confidence because he does jiu-jitsu. And the father said, that's exactly what I want to my kid. And he signed up his kid right away. And his kid is changing every week. He's becoming like a full confident teenager, And that's the beauty, That's the beauty of being an instructor and be able to transform, people's life. This is way more important to, than to make a champion, because in the end of the day, the champion is already champion. You just guide a little bit, but it's not your work that makes him champion.
That's an incredible story. I love that. Yeah, and there's countless stories like that too. There's countless opportunities to touch someone's life and share. That's going to be the bulk of your success stories. And the competitive athletes are a very small percentage of the school, and then the ones that will go on to be world champions are even smaller. Most schools won't ever produce one. But at the end of the day, you can, like you said, you can produce champions in life. I think that's a great way to look at it.
Eventually, you're going to get some very good guys that can be a world champion. My point here is you shouldn't be focused on build a competition team, because this is like, I would say if you put the energy and focus there, we're going to spend a lot of energy and get just a little money, in what the academy needs. So instead of doing that, you should put jiu-jitsu for everybody, collect all the money that you need, and then you spend a few hours a day to train what you like, if your goal is to become a coach of the champions. But don't sacrifice your business, because your athletes will leave, and then you spend the best years of your life giving, and they won't pay back.
Fabio, something I think I've seen many of my friends who open schools get surprised by is that they fall in love with the idea of teaching jiu-jitsu for a living and teaching all day long and spending the whole day on the mats. So in their head, I think they're thinking about teaching and developing students and creating cool relationships with people and picking a team name and a logo and all that. But then they realize, like, oh wait, I need a website, and then oh man, I need like liability insurance, and I need to learn Google Ads and how to market my school, and I need a customer retention software, and how do I bill my students every month. And in other words, it starts to dawn on them that they are indeed starting a real business that has real business needs. What do you think are some of the most important things in this category to consider, and how do you be aware? I guess what do you need to be aware of when you open a school?
I think the first rule, at least for me, is, and sometimes hard for people to understand, is don't use your personal name, no matter if you were champion, a world champion. Forget about your name, because your name's gonna be old. And the point is, if you have your name on the logo, means that everybody's gonna work under your name. One day you're gonna get old and tired, and you're gonna produce maybe a very good guy in jiu-jitsu, and that guy, they probably gonna leave you in order to put his name on the logo, So there's a negative cycle. Every time you build somebody that could be a good hand for you, they don't want to be under your name, because they feel that they are, stopping his progress, because he needs to be the name on the academy as well. I think that was a very old decision from our part when we decided to build alliance instead of Jacare's name or whatever names we had at that time, because we understood that we need to build something that would, live longer than us and be bigger than us and belong to everybody, So the life put us in the situation that now we are leading the team at this moment. But I don't lead the academy anymore, for example. Michael Zenga does, But imagine if the academy had the Fabio Gurgel logo, you know, then it's going to be hard for Michael to be under Fabio Gurgel. Michael's a multiple times world champion, one of the biggest champions of our sport. Imagine Marcelo Garcia being Fabio Gurgel, you know. So those guys need their own space because they deserve it, you know. So when you put your own name on the logo, you are creating a limit for your business. And of course, if you are very good and you work really hard, you can sustain the name for a while. But I promise you, if you don't die, you're going to get old. And if you get old, you have a problem to sustain that amount of hours on the mat. I used to teach like 12 hours a day. You know, I had literally 11 to 12 classes every single day between privates and group classes. It's, of course, it's not possible anymore with the age that I have. I'm 100% healthy, you know, I'm doing my things, but I can't sustain that amount of, you know, physical, you know, exercise, I'd say, you know. So it's up to you. So if you put your name, you're going to get that point. And if you build a brand, then it's different. But when you build a brand, as you said, you have to understand much more things. You know, how should I promote my brand? What's the mission of my brand? What's the culture that I'm going to put under my brand? You know, what people are going to hire to work, you know, in different sectors that I need to, in order to promote my brand. Again, if we go back to the beginning of our conversation, you need to prepare yourself for the transitions. Being good in jiu-jitsu is just a small part.
What aspect of business management have you seen lots of students run into problems with? Like, what seems to be the hardest thing to balance for most school owners when it comes to that side of things?
Right. I think that if we go back to the history and see why jiu-jitsu, it is what it is, and we can understand that the Grace Academy, the first Grace Academy from Grandmasters Carlos and Hélio Gracie, they used to have private students only, okay?
Yes, yeah.
So there was no group classes in that time. So then they developed a curriculum for private classes. So that's how they teach Jiu-Jitsu in the Grace Academy, 101 class, you know, for every single student. So all the cousins and nephews, they teach the students based on that curriculum. Very well. With the time, the students start to know the program. You know, 36 classes. The students with 2 years, they know everything about that program. So they start rolling and create different scenarios, more like where we have in sport jiu-jitsu nowadays. Okay, so the Greasies start to invite those guys because again they had like a busy schedule, one class after another. So if you get the students that really force you to roll, and then it's gonna be tough to you to hold like, let's say 10 classes a day. So they start to invite those guys to the family training, which was basically put everybody together on the mat, let's warm up, you know, 2 or 3 techniques and roll. You know. And then jiu-jitsu spread all over, you know, and that the system that those guys start doing in different schools. They didn't build the school as the Gracie Academy was. They just built the school as they like to do, which was little warm up, 2, 3 techniques, and training. And then comes the competition, sport jiu-jitsu competition. So that model increased, right? More people doing that, searching for performance. And everybody's together in the same room, training together. And if you are weak, you get out. If you are strong, you stay. And jiu-jitsu start working like that. Okay? Jiu-jitsu is spread all over the world, he went to the U.S. and the guys that moved to the U.S., they took the same system, one instructor, academy, warm up, 2 techniques, and then the competition was there too. So they kind of took the same role. And they forgot one very important thing, which is how can I teach jiu-jitsu for the society in general, not just for the athletes, for the regular people. And it's not possible to do so without the division of the levels. So I think the most important aspect for a school is you need to have that division. Nobody goes to the university from the top, down. So you go and learn the foundations, and then you keep growing till you get graduated. In anything you learn, right? Jiu-jitsu should be the same, but it wasn't. So I think that you offer different levels in your school, create different products. So let's imagine that you walk in the supermarket, you have different sections. Oh, you are beginner. So all right, beginners you're gonna learn these things. You have this schedule. You can come in these classes. Oh, you move up to the intermediate level. Okay, now you open up a little bit more the timetable for you. You have more times to come. You got classes that you're gonna work a little harder, classes that's gonna be soft as the beginners. So you build the student to the point that they're gonna reach the level of advanced. And maybe one day they're gonna go to the competition team. But these are different products. You don't sell advanced as you sell beginners. You don't need to convince someone that jiu-jitsu is good if the guy's already a purple belt. Right? He knows. But when I talk to a white belt that never did jiu-jitsu before, my approach is totally different. I'm selling a different product. Right? So it goes for this is the core of how you manage a school. Because from there, you're going to get, okay, how can I market it? So should I marketing for people that already do jiu-jitsu, or should I focus my marketing on people that never do jiu-jitsu before? So if the answer is the latter, so it means that I need to learn how to do the analogies and understand the people's pain and how jiu-jitsu can solve that problem. So that's my marketing strategy. So I don't need to spend a lot of time promoting jiu-jitsu for people that already do jiu-jitsu. So I think that's the main thing. And then when you divide the classes in levels, then comes the second most important thing. You have to have your methodology. There is a process that every single student must pass through. And again, if you go back in history, jiu-jitsu was like, okay, you train jiu-jitsu, there is no problem. If you're tough, you're going to get your belt. If you are not, I won't graduate you. What happened? Of course, people start leaving jiu-jitsu because it was very frustrated. People start thinking that, oh, jiu-jitsu is not for me. No, jiu-jitsu is for you. The problem is the school that you choose that try to treat everybody as the same type of animals. And we are not. So the goal is to create an environment where your student can be comfortable and at the same time, he's progressing. So that's the stage of flow, right? So it's not that hard, that the guy think, oh, this is impossible for me. It's not that easy. There is no challenge for him. So there's a challenge. It's hard, but it's hard for you now, in your situation. So you just keep the guy moving forward in a way that is possible for him. You don't speed up the process too much. Otherwise, your students gonna lose their motivation and they're gonna leave your school. If you don't keep that easy, because your students gonna feel that you are kind of faking, he's not really progressing. So there's a science in order to build the methodology in a way that you keep your students exciting with their progression, right? And their progression is individual. I cannot say that if let's say we sign up for the school together, the same day, same class. In 1 year from now, maybe you're gonna get your blue belt and I'm not, because maybe you were more dedicated than I was, and you deserve it. So those caterings that I see the schools doing it, and promoting belt promotion of the year, and now they give belts for everybody, From the student's point of view, sometimes the guy is going to say, oh, that's nice, I got my belt. But honestly, if they didn't deserve that belt, it didn't sound right, and you start losing the value of the graduation in Jiu-Jitsu. But if I tell you, look, Ryan, you get inside the Alliance School and we're going to count the classes, and you're going to be tested right here with 150 classes, let's say, for blue belt. And then people ask, oh, but you're going to count the classes. It doesn't really matter. It matters if you have the methodology. It matters if I teach exactly what I need to teach. So we at Alliance, we don't teach what we want to teach. We teach what our students need to learn. See, the perspective changed. So it's not what I like to teach. If I could, I would go to my academy and just teach what I know best. It makes me look much better. If I go to the school and start teaching a spider guard, for example, that I never do in my roles, or it's not my best position, let's say, but I know how to teach. I know the technique, and I have to teach my students everything, not just what I like. Imagine that all the system, all the instructors are raised with that mentality. This is very beneficial to every single student, because they're going to learn the fundamentals, and then they're going to build up their games based in other aspects of Jiu-Jitsu, your weight, your flexibility, your strength, your cardio, whatever. You're going to find the best way for you to fight. But the school must be able to provide you the best fundamentals possible. And this is only possible through the methodology.
I love that answer, because you very passionately explained the importance of proper guidance through the art for students, and without a separation of fundamental students and advanced students, that becomes very hard. Without the right curriculum, it's very hard, and without the right methodology, it's next to impossible. So that's great that you pointed that out as being such an important facet of starting a school, and one of the things that any academy owner should be thinking of first and foremost, before anything else.
Yeah, I think you have. It's like, let's say you're going to open a McDonald's, you need the recipe of everything, right? Before you start selling burgers, you need to know the recipe. You need to know how to do the fries and everything. So there's a process, So I think the jiu-jitsu people needs to understand that in order to jiu-jitsu become a business, we need to create the process. What's the best process in jiu-jitsu? You know, I'm not saying that Alliance has the best process, but we do have a process, you know, and we respect the students from day one. You know, we did, for example, when the students sign in the Alliance school, they're going to have a free private class, all right? So the first intro is 101 class. After that class, if the students decide to sign up, and of course the conversion is pretty high because the class is, you know, I think is one of the best moments in jiu-jitsu when you all of a sudden find out how effective jiu-jitsu is, right? So the students very emotional and excited. That's why they sign up right away. We give him 2 more classes, private. And why we do that? Because I want to prepare my student to be ready to the beginner's class. And 1 class is not enough. I don't want to put my students in the place that the instructor is explaining something that he doesn't understand a thing. So with 3 classes, I prepare my students to understand whatever comes in the beginner's class. All right? So I don't. It's a kind of I don't leave the hand of my students. I keep holding his hand, you know, to the point that he's comfortable enough to go by himself. You know? So that's how our Alliance, you know, create the process. You know, so we take care of the students to the point that he's free to go. You know, and then we have of course 1,000 classes offering to him to improve his jiu-jitsu, you know. But the beginning is crucial. And when you build a business, going back to the black belt that's planning to open his gym, you cannot be alone. You are setting up a business. Who's going to work for you? You know, and how many people you need in your personnel? Who's going to do the marketing? Who's going to teach the beginner's class? Who's going to, you know, do the intros? Who's going to take care of the money? Who's going to... So there's a lot of things to do that's impossible to do alone. And you have to build a business with the business mindset, not with the mentality of, oh, I'm going to open the door, put the mats, and see what's happening. You know, I see that jiu-jitsu already past that phase. You are now competing with, you know, instructor schools. You know, Gracie Barra is doing a good job spreading their schools all over the world. Alliance is doing the same. You know, raising the bar in terms of the quality of the academies. You know, really delivering a good service. You look to the side, you have AUJ doing an unbelievable job, you know, with the kids, and now they have that new schools, beautiful, top-notch location. Atos doing the same thing. So all jiu-jitsu schools, the incumbents are doing a great job raising the bar. How can you, as a single instructor, do anything different? If you go and try, I bet that you're gonna, you know, lose your money, spend a lot of energy, and you won't succeed. So you really need to think about the business aspect of jiu-jitsu in order to build your school.
I like what you said there too, is that the idea is that you realize you have to have other people helping you. You need a team to do it. It's very hard to do it all by yourself. And going back to things that surprise people that they might not have considered when they first opened a school, I think that's another big one, is that they realize they might be in positions where they have to manage other people. In fact, they will definitely have to be in those positions. This includes employees. It includes the students themselves. Managing interpersonal relationships in an academy is a really valuable skill for any owner to have, because you're going to have to manage, you know, assistant instructors and staff, and you'll need to manage expectations of and concerns from parents, and you're going to need to manage personality clashes that exist that inevitably happen between students. You're going to need to manage the fact that your students might start dating each other. You might have all kinds of issues that come up that you never would have thought of when dealing with other people. What guidance do you offer affiliates or students who open a school when it comes to managing and working with other people in all these different ways?
Yeah, again, that's another transition. You need to learn how to do it, because you are putting yourself in a place of leadership, right? And leadership is a choice, but once you decide that you want to be that leader, you want to be the head of the academy, you want to set up the example for your students, for your personnel, for the people around you. You are taking a lot of responsibility, and sometimes when people realize that, they say, you know what, I prefer to stay as an instructor. I don't want to get this load of things on my shoulders, which I totally understand, but if you want to do so, you have to prepare yourself. It's not one day you don't know nothing and the other day is going to open your school. It can't be like that. It can't be like for all the champions out there. Don't think you can go all the way to one side and then in one day you're ready to go to the opposite side, which is providing the service, understanding the business, leadership of people. It's too far away. So start building what you want to the future. Start understanding, start studying. How can I emulate the schools that I admire? What these guys are doing? What kind of business marketing they do? What kind of methodology they use? So start seeking for knowledge, and then you see that's going to help you to decide if you want to go by your own or if you want to join someone that's aligned with your values. Because again, all the examples that I did here, Gracie Barra, Atos, AOJ, Alliance, they're all general names, right? There's not a name from somebody, so you can join. If you think that your values are aligned, you can join the team if you want to. And you can be a very important piece for that team. You're going to have your spot, and you're going to get your, I would say your spot in the sunlight because you work hard and you did good, but you're going to have some support and some help along the way, and so that's also a possibility.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to zoom in on that a little bit, because I think a lot of people that open schools, they might be faced with, man, should I be flying solo and doing my own thing, or should I join a larger organization that's going to help me organize and do the right steps to grow the school? What, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest benefits of being part of an affiliation? What kind of support do they provide for people that don't know? What's the benefits?
Yeah, I think again, when we start the affiliation thing, it was like, okay, we are spreading, jiu-jitsu is spreading all over the world. It was early 90s. And everybody that was training for us and moved to another city, they'd open a school and say, hey, I'm going to represent Alliance because it's my team. And that's okay. So you put Alliance, and they used to pay like $100 just to be part of the team. And you got that money to organize small things that we each organized at that time. But we didn't have anything to really offer as a provider, I don't like the word franchise because we are not franchise. We're not pure franchise, but that's the same kind of thing. We didn't have any methodology, any system to offer. And then we developed our methodology. We proved that our methodology really help the schools to increase the number of students. And then we create the brand, and then the brand is well known all over the world because we work hard to create a brand with good people, with good image, with good champions, right? And so that's That's a 30 years history, okay? And with a lot of try and errors. When you join Alliance, what we got? You got a methodology that is up and running, ready, beginner's class, intermediate, advanced, competition, kids, baby eagle, little eagle, eagle warrior. So all the programs are there. You don't need to think about it, because I don't think about it. When I go to a class, I just take the class that I have to teach, because that's exactly what my students need to learn, right? So if you wanna systems that are gonna help you to build a school, the systems there, and then you have the graduation process. You have the relationship with IBJJF already built from the scratch for over 30 years. So, of course, you can use the brand. You can say that you are the winners team in the world. That there's a lot of benefits, and the downside of being together with someone is there's a set of rules you cannot break, but of course their rules is for your own beneficial. But people sometimes don't understand the way. They want to be free to do whatever they want, and that's fine. We are here to maybe tell them, hey, look, just pay attention to these things over here, So in order to don't break our face on the wall, because you already did. We did many mistakes, and I think the Alliance has a mission to share. This is in our culture. Share means that you're going to pass your knowledge forward. You don't hold the things for yourself. And we don't do that in any level. We don't do that when we're teaching techniques in our classes. We don't do that with the competitors. We don't do that with the community. We share the good things that we have done and good things that we are doing. Say, when I build the BJJ Jiu-Jitsu program, which is League of Jiu-Jitsu, I taught the students how to build a gym and how to run a business successfully, taking care of the marketing aspect, taking care of the methodology process, and taking care of the financial aspect, And I just share with them what I was doing. And it's basically what we do and of course, when we have the affiliates, it takes a lot of time. So we need to give more attention to people that are inside the team than, the rest of the community, even though we try our best to share the good practice.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see where, as a new academy owner, having a really strong, fine-tuned template like that to follow by people that have been doing this for much longer than you've probably even been training is a really beneficial thing. How does that work? How does the structure of an affiliation work for people that don't know? Is it an annual fee they pay? Like how does that all get set up?
It's basically we have nowadays we have one payment only, but I think it's important to break it down so people can understand. This package is made by different things. So the first one is the seminars. Seminars is a tool that we use to control the technical level. So our instructors travel all over the world and visit all the affiliates, which is good for the affiliate because there's a really nice event. You can have Felipe Andrew, for example, teach a class in your school. It's just a nice event, right? So we can still making money out of it, but there's a share that goes to Alliance. And then we have the certification, which is the belt test. The students pay for the certificate, but they pay for the time that the instructors are there to evaluate your performance. So they pay a small fee. And then they have the brand itself. How much should I pay for using the brand? So we put all that together in one payment. So they pay a fee every month, and they have access to our suppliers. In order to buy the goods for the wholesale price, and then they can sell to the students all types of apparel, keys, the uniform. The uniform policy is one thing that's mandatory in our schools. So the academies has this as a revenue as well. So all the things that we build, the relationship between Alliance headquarters and the affiliates. Of course, besides the brand, they everything that we charge, they can make money on top of it. And they have access as well to our learning center, which is our platform of e-learning, where all the methodologies there. So all the instructors are signed up in the methodology, and we have great discussions inside the platform. They ask for different courses. We build the courses and put them available for every single instructor. So you have a platform with over 500 videos, just for classes. So you can, let's say you have class number 18 to teach today. We go to the platform and just watch the class 18, just to refresh your mind in the best way to run the class. And we have a lot of videos with, we call inside session, which is small tips. For example, how long it takes for you to explain a technique to your students in a group class. Have you thought about that?
I have not thought about that. No. That's deep. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many minutes you think you spend to teach a technique?
If I was going to teach a technique, I obviously, depending on the complexity of the technique, anywhere from 3 minutes to five minutes, maybe, depending on how deep I go on it.
Yeah. And then the question is, imagine that your students in the dynamic of the class, okay? You have, of course, even in the advanced class, let's say, you have different levels of comprehension, okay? You have a blue belt and you have a black belt in the class. You have a brown belt, very experienced guy, and you have a newcomer blue belt that comes from other school. They have different capabilities of comprehension. And then comes to the technique, and they do the warm-up, so they are ready to go, and then they stop to learn, what you are about to teach them. And then you spend like long 10 minutes talking about the technique and the possibilities and the connections and blah, 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 blah. So you load them with information, right? When they go to practice the technique, they barely remember where the technique starts. And that's a very common mistake. Very, very common. Because usually the instructors don't have the capacity to, I would say, reduce the information in a sense that they touch the key points of the technique, which is what the students need to know, right? From that situation, here's one point that you have to pay attention. That's the second one, and that's the third concept. If you give more than 3 information to your students, the majority of the class won't be able to perform. So if they don't understand the technique, how can you build another layer on top of that? So the insight on the platform say, hey, you cannot spend more than 3 minutes to explain your technique. If you are doing more than 3 minutes, you are doing wrong. No matter the complexity of the technique, you have to be able to shrink the explanation in 3 minutes. It's going to force you to pay attention in the key points. And the key points, they are exactly what your students need to know. And of course, let's say that you have a very good group, very skilled group, and they get the 3 points right away and they practice the technique very well. Beautiful. You let them play a little bit for 5 minutes, let's say, and then, hey guys, come back. I'm going to add another detail on top of what I just taught you. But you break down the technique. You don't load all the information because it's impossible for them to resist it. So those tips, and we have hundreds of tips like that on the platform. So it's helping the students. And again, what's the benefit? This is one of the benefits. You have access to very experienced people. They are doing jiu-jitsu for a very long time and being successful. Because I'm not saying that, oh, that guy is very experienced. Okay, but maybe he's doing something wrong because he didn't get any success in his journey. It's not the case, right? We are a very successful institution, and we are telling you the things that works for us. You can use if you are smart, or you can try yourself. But if you decide to come and join us, that's the kind of thing you're gonna have access.
Fabio, I really appreciate you elaborating on all this, because I think there are a lot of people out there that probably wonder, man, why does someone join an affiliation? And you just explained really well. It's the amount of support, and I've seen lots of affiliations do this too. I've seen them do like camps where just the instructors and owners get together once a year or once every 6 months, talk about the industry, talk about what practices are working and what's not, and then having people much more seasoned than yourself guiding you along the way. So definitely something to think about for future school owners, about whether or not
absolutely
be part of a bigger group.
And the thing is, it's cheaper than you think, because that's how we still have jiu-jitsu coming out of that old mentality into the business world. So it's still cheap if you compare with what we offer. But just to give you an idea, in our office at São Paulo, we have 18 people work internally just to support the affiliates. A marketing specialist, a sales guy, a product specialist, financial guy, the affiliation manager. And so there's a lot of people working to provide a good service and don't let our, affiliates alone in every issue. So that's the kind of support the Alliance does, and not just Alliance. I'm sure that all the other associations are doing pretty much the same thing, and that's how the industry is moving, so we are, we're trying to provide more and more and more to our students and to our affiliates. We have now our app that connect all the 30,000 students in one app. So if you train, let's say in California, and you travel to São Paulo, you just go to the São Paulo and join, so you already part of the family, so we know that you're coming from San Diego, for example, and you are, just visit São Paulo, is in your app, you already recognized as an Alliance student, so there's a lot of things that, of course they are beneficial in being inside the association against being alone and try everything alone. That's definitely harder.
Fabio, you were talking earlier about the importance of marketing to people that have never done jiu-jitsu before. And I'd like to talk about that for a moment. Many students who walk in through the door for the first time can have different motivations for coming to a jiu-jitsu school. Some people may want to become like MMA fighters. Some people might just want to learn self-defense. Some are just there to get in shape. Some people have suffered trauma or abuse, and they're just looking to find strength and become a physically capable person. The list goes on and on for reasons people show up. But in your opinion, how can an academy best deliver a curriculum that suits everybody's needs? Do you think that's even possible to do?
Yes, I believe so. I think that the most common, because all the aspects that you mentioned, they look different, but the origin is basically the same. The people wants to learn some self-defense, right? So if let's say someone was abused, what I need to learn, I need to learn self-defense in order to be confident and don't be abused anymore. You know, I wanna be an MMA fighter. Okay, what I want to learn? I want to learn how to defend myself, you know, in order to fight. And it comes down to self-defense for the majority of the reasons why people do jiu-jitsu. The point is, it changes as you progress. So the first thing is, I go to jiu-jitsu because I want to learn something. And even when I want to get in shape, to be honest, if you want to get in shape, you can go to the gym. And it's going to be easier for you to get in shape. But you don't want to be just in shape. You want to be in shape, doing something that is cool, that is not boring. And that's why people come to jiu-jitsu in order to get in shape, right? And also, I want to know how to defend myself, right? So that's always in the package. But okay, so they come from the self-defense aspect, first place, and then they change and switch for many other things, like belonging, like friendship, like the environment that you create, like the discovery of what they are capable of. They have no idea what they can do with their body till they learn the first frame or the first choke, right? And they say, wow, this is fucking amazing, right? And I can do that. Nobody's doing for me, right? I'm able to do that. I'm able to escape from this situation. They start to learn that if you be resilient enough to continue, you're gonna see you passing the level of other people that are not disciplined as you. So you start putting effort and being disciplined and being resilient, and then you start facing the hard part, the hard things. You know, someone's gonna smash you, and you're gonna go home, and next day you come back and you get a little better, and then little by little you start to be more comfortable in those situations that in the beginning were very hard for you, and say, wow, this is magic. I want to have that thing in my life. Okay, so that's the natural progression of students that keep doing jiu-jitsu. The challenge for the marketing is, how can I communicate that feeling, which is way more stronger, to the people that never did jiu-jitsu before? Okay, let's look to the struggles of the society. What are those problems? Anxiety, definitely one of them. You know, addicted to dopamine, it's another problem, right? How can we start showing people that jiu-jitsu is the tool that we need, let's say, to love the sacrifice, love the hard things? Because we both agree that is nothing that was built in humanity without sacrifice, right? You have to take the risk. You have to do unimaginable things in order to progress, right? From the poverty to where we are now. But the society in nowadays are trying to plant in people's mind that they don't need to do anything. Everything will be ready for you. But this is not true. And this system is not going well, to be honest. We need to get back the sense of responsibility. We need to get back to the sense that I need to sacrifice myself in order to get things done, right? I don't want to be slave of my vice. I want to be the virtuous guy. That's why I do jiu-jitsu, because I'm going to develop the virtues. I'm going to learn how to respect. I'm going to learn how to keep going even though it's hard. I'm going to know so many lessons that are important. And when I'm able to communicate that analogy outside of the jiu-jitsu for the regular people, then you see jiu-jitsu multiply the number of practitioners to the place that we can't even imagine. Jiu-Jitsu has the chance and I would say the power to be one of the most important tools of the development of the teachers. There's no other sport that, that is just so unique. You can have everything inside one thing only, Everything's there. It's individual sport, but you need the group. Otherwise, you cannot progress, right? If you don't have different types of people, you won't be ready for any type of situation, right? So you have to adapt all the time the techniques that you learn. For example, if we're training and I do the technique with you and it works, and then I try with somebody else and that technique doesn't work, I have to adapt. I have to have a flexible mind in terms of don't be strict to your own convictions because things change and you have to adapt, right? And imagine if I could choose one thing to be, I would choose being adaptable for any type of situation because we never know what's gonna happen. We can't control most of the things that happen around us. So being adaptable is, I think, key for your success. And there is no other place to learn to be adaptable as Jiu-Jitsu is. So do we know how to communicate with people? Jiu-Jitsu is still, I would say, crawling, as a baby in order to communicate its potential. That's another beneficial when you join an institution that thinking about that for a long time, But I think that's a kind of responsibility that every jiu-jitsu practitioner should have, Think about it. What benefits you have from jiu-jitsu? Try to express yourself a little better, And in order to express yourself a little better, you need to learn how to talk, And if you want to know how to talk, you're going to have to study a little bit, It's better for you to get a book to read instead of, rolling your finger on the Instagram, So you need to educate our people because we have the best tool, but we need people that, understand that and know how to express.
Yeah, Fabio, there's something you mentioned there for a moment. You mentioned kind of like the vibe of a school and the importance of that. And that's something I'd really like to talk about because I think the physical presentation that a gym has to a new student walking in the doors is something very important and sometimes not really focused on as much. We always talk about, the presentation of the instructor and the curriculum and, the quality of the jiu-jitsu, of course, is a very important thing, but also just the feeling that a student gets when they walk in your door. And like, I imagine if a young guy who wants to fight or compete seriously walks through a door, he's wanting to see like kind of an aggressive training environment. He's wanting to feel like he's in a tough room where he's going to get pushed hard and work hard. Whereas someone wanting to learn just purely self-defense and maybe lose some weight or something, they're going to want a more calm and pleasant environment where they can safely learn and be comfortable. I feel like your academy has a really good balance of both of those things because obviously Alliance is one of the top competition teams in the world, and your school in Sao Paulo is a notoriously tough room to train in at the advanced level. But at the same time, when you walk into your academy, it feels very pleasant and welcoming. It's clean, it's elegant, it's bright. What do you think is the key to making a tough training environment also calming and welcoming at the same time?
Ryan, excellent question. I think you reached the point. What I see is that jiu-jitsu people, they think that they should look tough. And I believe that you should be one, not exactly look like one, right? So, and then we go to the business perspective. Okay, when you go to let's say a luxury hotel or a luxury restaurant, you know, that is a feeling, right? When we get there, you know, things are on the place, people treat you well with a lot of, you know, politeness, and then you get the, you know, what you ask, and then the experience should be good, and then we rely that with luxury. Okay, that's a luxury hotel, that's a luxury restaurant, you know. Of course, you can get inside a very fancy place, and the service wasn't that good, and say, oh, you know what, it doesn't really reflect what they look like, and that's a very bad image. You'll never be there again, right? But when you have places that take care of the everything, that just make you feel comfortable. I don't wanna have a student that step in my academy, or every person, or any person that step in my academy and say, wow, this is a very wild environment. No. They should be a really nice environment, you know. Polite people, not speaking that loud, not, you know, calling bad words, you know. So everybody's gonna feel comfortable when they get there. Oh, you want to do the competition training? Amazing. Everybody's gonna treat you really well. But when the training starts, you're gonna see, you know, what you're made for, right? So, and then again, it's not look like you're tough. You be real, you know. But I don't need to be aggressive. I don't need to be unpolite. I don't need to be here in order to be tough. That's the quite opposite. You know, if you are, you know, confident enough, you should be very gentle. You know, that's our culture. Again, it's in our culture. Always find kindness, you know, in order to solve your problems. You know, so that's what we say every day. So raising the bar in our academies, I think create a great impact in the jiu-jitsu world, in the jiu-jitsu industry. You know, what AOJ just did in Mission Viejo is a really nice and beautiful gym. What we did in London, what we are doing now, you guys are gonna see in a few days. We're gonna have our grand opening on 12. You know, it's the largest and most beautiful academy of jiu-jitsu in the world. You know, it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have 9 simultaneous mats.
Oh my God!
So it's like 10,000 square feet facility. You know,
wow.
It's our headquarters that we are moving the Villa Olímpia Academy to that new place, and that's gonna be something. You know, so you're raising the bar, and that's, I think, what the instructors that are planning to have an academy should think about it. You know, and they can decide to go by their own. That's no problem at all. You know, I think we gotta have different academies, and that's I think that's healthy for the industry. But my point is, you gotta be aware that the competition is becoming bigger and bigger. You know, the academies now cost $1 million. You know, to build a really nice gym, that's what gonna cost. And then you're gonna compare with someone that just opened the door and put the mats on the floor and have a small balcony and the restroom on the back with no showers. And I think that reality is going to change, you know, and very soon people won't have that option anymore. That's what I believe for the future.
Fabio, there's something you said there too. You talked about the price tag of an academy, and that's something else I actually wanted to ask you about. Is I think a lot of people might get surprised when they decide to open a school how much things cost. Obviously, mats are not cheap. Then you got the electric bill, the water bill, the insurance, and all that. In your opinion, what would you say is the average? I guess since most of our listeners are in the U.S., we do have a big global audience here, but let's focus on the U.S. for right now. What do you think is the average startup capital that someone opening a school in the United States should have saved up? What's realistic in your opinion?
I think a good school will cost at least $500K.
Okay.
And if we plan to spend less than 300, you're gonna have a not really nice school, you know. So 250 to 300, you're gonna get something very basic. Up to 500,000, you're gonna have a decent school with a decent size. And I would say that the ideal size to start a business would be something around 5,000 square feet. And of course, if you have a previous academy, with a lot of students, you can go to a larger facility. But I would start in the average of 5,000 square feet for the scratch if you don't have any students. And that's how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah, that leads me to something else. I was going to ask you whether or not you thought starting with 0 students or trying to build up a small team in like your garage or something is a better strategy. Do you think it's better to start small and slowly grow into a larger and larger facility? Or have you seen people be successful putting up the money or getting a loan and opening a school and building from 0?
I have seen both. I think is, of course, if we start building from the scratch in your garage and then small schools, the problem is you're gonna set that standard. How much people are willing to pay to train in your garage, and then how much people are willing to pay in your small academy, and how many people you feed in that academy, and what kind of service you provide. And then if you want to jump that people to a ideal location with ideal services, the cost is going to be way higher. And then people probably won't pay or in charge because they get used to pay that small price. So that is something that is hard for you to break. But on the other hand, if you go for a new, nice location, with all the service there, with all the instructors high, and all the team ready to receive their student, the value perception from the students is different. So when they walk in, again, using the example of the luxury hotel, we don't walk in the luxury hotel expecting that we're gonna pay the Motel 6 fee. So that the room's gonna cost a couple hundreds of dollars because that's a luxury hotel. You can tell when you see. It's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. If you walk in an academy that's nice, you don't expect to be cheap. So you just raise the bar in the value perception of your student, and that perception is gonna make them pay whatever you charge. But if you come from the scratch, you're gonna drag all those students, and probably you have to keep the price at the same level that it was before.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It seems to me like there would be 2 strategies there. Then one, you'd either have to prepare people. I guess you'd want to inspire them with your vision, saying, "Hey guys, look, we're going to go from this garage to a school that I want to start building. I want you to be my first batch of students. That's going to take a higher price, but I really want you guys to come with me and get them. I guess build value, like you're saying. That would be one strategy."
Yeah, that's one strategy, but I would say that that's a very hard one. Because let's say you are an instructor, I train at your garage, and I like you so much. I like the classes that you teach me. I like to be around. I like that system. And I'm paying you $150 a month, for that. And then you say, you know what, I'm going to move to the next location, and now it's going to cost you $250. I don't want to spend $100 more for the same service that I like. I'm getting used to pay my jiu-jitsu $150, and that's fair for me. I don't want to change. Your students that accept to train in your garage won't pay more. The thing is, when you have a very good location with a really nice school, you're going to attract different people. They are willing to pay. So, two different publics, and they usually don't mix much. Imagine that in the US is a little different than in Brazil in that sense, because in Brazil you have a social distance that's quite high, right? So people don't really mix up in Brazil because the top of the pyramid is very wealthy, and they have the best things in the world, and the bottom of the pyramid have almost nothing, and so in the US it's different because everybody can afford to pay like $200, $300 for an academy, But even though you're gonna feel that when you offer a luxury service, you're gonna separate people a little bit. There are those guys that like to go to places that they don't need to behave, for example. They can do whatever they want. They can talk loud. They can speak as they like, They don't want to follow the rules. So when you set a bar in a luxury academy, you are telling them, hey, here you have to behave. Here you have to treat people with respect. So you're going to get these kind of students. And that's the choice you have to make. That's a decision you have to take when you decide to go for option 1 or option 2, as you said. I find very hard to do this transition. Or you go for that model, or you go to the other one. I don't really believe the transitions, because you're gonna do the transition, you're gonna pay a lot of bills, and you're gonna charge the same thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a conundrum. That is, I can see that being a difficult transition to do, especially if you've built up a core group of guys that you feel really close to. That would be hard to have to, but I see what you're saying. Financially, I think you'd have to make that sacrifice and say, hey, look, I'm either going to have a bigger school and charge a premium price, or I'm not. And if I don't charge the premium price on a $500,000 school, I'm going to go out of business. So, yeah.
Then you're going to lose your savings, right? Or at least you're going to lose a friend, because that's another topic that's important, right? Usually people in jiu-jitsu has a lot of friends that would love to be good in jiu-jitsu as well. And at certain point of their lives, they say, you know what, I wanna contribute with jiu-jitsu because I love it. I wanna have an academy as an investor. I wanna put my money, and you run the business. And there's another very delicate issue, because if you don't run your business, your academy properly, you're probably gonna lose the money, the opportunity, and the friend. Because nobody wants to invest and lose the money. So you need to understand there's no other, thing to do rather than study and learn how to do things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of the investing side, that was going to be another question I had. So a lot of people might be shocked to say, oh man, I could be good at jiu-jitsu and a great teacher, but then I would have to come up with, $500,000 to open a really nice school. How do most people do that, Fabio? Do they get loans from a bank? Do they get private investors that help them? What have you seen people do to be able to open a school at that price?
I have seen, I think the most of the people they are getting an investor.
Okay.
They are not really going to the bank. They get investor, and then they have different relationships with that investor. Some investors are willing to take, half of the shares. Some of the investors want to have more and get paid earlier. And then there's several ways to do it. But that's the most common setup, is the instructors plus the investors. And then they go from there, and without and that's another thing. When the investor comes in place, they usually like to have a support, So when they come to Alliance and we have a bunch of situations like that, they feel safer, because they know that there's a process and there's a prediction of how that plan's gonna roll out, and so we have the business plan, ready before we start business, before we open the school, and then we can just follow the business plan and then fold off the academy to see if you are tracking the plan, or if you're staying behind, or if you are ahead. So the investors are pretty comfortable with the numbers when we have a plan. But what I see a lot of times is the investors, again, is someone that do jiu-jitsu and loves jiu-jitsu and get their money outside of jiu-jitsu, right? So they made money in other markets. And usually they think that they know everything. They know, and that Jiu-Jitsu Academy is nothing. Oh, come on, man. I control a chain of stores, I am the salesman guy, I know everything. Or, oh man, I have a bunch of restaurants all over the country, I have a company that's, it's global. But when it comes down to the academy, it's a different animal, And again, that's how the support comes, can really help you to be a better product to an investor. Instead of going, hey, I have a dream, I want to have an academy. Can I get the money from you, and can we build the academy together? We can go for a different play. We have this plan with this company, and that's how the business is structured. And we have these predictions, and the payback time is going to be here, and the break even is going to be here. So it's all designed. Of course, it's not a promise, but it's based on a lot of study and experience. So the risk is pretty small, to be honest.
Yeah. Another benefit of being teamed up with a large affiliation, for sure. Yeah, it gives you that sense of legitimacy for people that you're asking $500,000 to. That's a lot of that's a lot of money. Yeah. Let me ask. Speaking of money, Fabio, for people out there, I think there's a lot of people out there that don't quite know how much instructors can make. Like, they don't know what kind of a living they could actually have running a school. How much money have you seen successful school owners in the U.S. make? What's the potential income? What are the ranges?
I think there's 2 points here that is important to clarify. The first is, okay, you can have an academy, regular academy, with students paying the average fee for, and then you're gonna multiply that for, the what you charge monthly, and you're gonna extract out of the, all of your revenue around 35% profit. Okay. So let's say that your academy makes 20,000, you gotta, go home and then of the, with like 7,000 clean money in your pocket, all the expenses paid, your salary paid, because your salary is not the profit, right? There's another confusion that people usually do. But you're gonna pay yourself, you're gonna pay the instructors, you're gonna pay the cleaning, you're going to pay the insurance, you're going to pay everything. And you should have at least 35% profit in a academy that's well managed. But then you can have the private classes in place, which is a very few academy does, you know. And when you have the private classes, you just bring the average ticket to the roof, okay? Instead of paying $200, that students pay $1,000, you know, or $1,500, or sometimes $2,000 a month, you know. So really push the average ticket high. And then, of course, your profit is going to be higher, and on top of the better revenue, you know. So if you have that, you know, system in place, your profit could go to 50% easily. So if you have, let's say, an academy that has like 100,000 revenue a month, you can have 50,000 profit, clean your bucket, which goes to 600,000 a year, you know, in one gym.
Which takes us back to what we were saying earlier, that, you know, we're excited about the money that athletes are winning in jiu-jitsu. I think that's awesome, but man, there's plenty of income potential and career potential for people out there.
Yeah. And the thing is, for how long as a professional athlete, if you get that level, for how long you can make that money, you know. And being very honest, I don't think anybody's making that money fighting in the industry. But even though someone is making, would be very few and for a very short period of time. In academy, you just get better. You just improve your academy, and then you can make another one, and then you can make another one, and then you can make another one. And then you can have a chain of your own academies inside the association if you want. You can have, let's say, 3-4 alliance academies. We have some affiliates that they have many academies, you know. Wow. All alliance, all close by, you know. So they drive from one to another, so they control everything, and they have a bunch of academies, you know. I think there's much more sustainable business, and I'm not saying that you should not go as an athlete and collect all the money that's out there. You should, but you should also study how to get that, you know, a platform that you're having to show off how good you are and turn into money for the future. And in order to do that, you have to learn, because it doesn't count how good you are and your name. That's gonna be over very soon. So you have to create another thing, you know, and try to be as good as you would as an athlete, as a jiu-jitsu school owner, and who knows, maybe an association owner. And there is no limit for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, yeah, that's why I think this is such a valuable thing for people to hear, because with the excitement of the growth of money and cash prizes and stuff, it's you've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, finally, there's big money in jiu-jitsu." I think it's important to address that narrative that, man, that there's money in jiu-jitsu. It just depends on how you're trying to make it. So, yeah, I think it's, you know, you can definitely have a great career in the industry of jiu-jitsu by opening a school, for sure.
And imagine all these guys that putting a lot of effort, and I know how hard it is to get a spot in jiu-jitsu nowadays. You have to be really good, and you have to be very committed with your dream. So if you just get, you know, a little bit of the energy and put 10%, you know, in order to develop another skill. So 10% on top of 10% every year, when you start ending your career as an athlete, you will be a much better person to work, a much skilled guy, you know, in order to build anything you want, you know. So my point here is just don't close your eyes and don't think that jiu-jitsu is gonna make you rich forever, because even in the professional sports, if you get NFL, for example, the rate of players that get like millions of dollars, and when they end their careers, they broke, they go bankruptcy because they don't know how to deal with that, amount of money, and they don't have no money coming anymore, and they keep spending and trying to keep that, way of life that they built when they were earning a lot of money. So sports sometimes is tricky. You have to be smart and intelligent to know, to choose the path that you want to go.
Fabio, another thing I've seen people run into is many people who open a school might say to themselves, I'm not really like a kid person. Like I don't really want to teach kids classes. I don't have the patience or the personality for that. It's not everyone that has it. In your opinion, how important is a kids program to a new school?
Very important. Is one school inside the other. Two different publics, two different times that they use the academy. So if you have just an adult school because you like, means that there are spots during the day that you won't fit. You won't fill with students because people are working, and that's the perfect time for kids. So they don't fight against each other. They are just, two different academies inside one location. And again, if we go to be slave of our passions, and just do what we like, probably we won't build anything that's value, So I don't like to teach kids at all, but my academy is full of kids, So you hire instructors, you be there, you teach them how to teach, you study that different world that kids' world, and you just put the best people there to provide the service. But don't have kids, it's cut in half your potential.
That brings us back to what you were saying earlier, is the importance of understanding that it's not going to be just you. You're going to need to build a team. You're going to have to select assistant instructors and a kids instructor. What kind of things do you like to look for, and what do you recommend other people look for in the people that they bring on as staff members?
Oh yeah, I think that when I mentioned that we should have different products in the shelf, when the client comes, I'm looking for jiu-jitsu. What kind of jiu-jitsu? Who are you, right? Oh, I'm a kid. Okay, there's a program for you. I'm an adult. That's a program. I'm a competitor. There's a program for you. So I have different products. And you can have specialists in each product. Okay, kids program. Who is the responsible for the kids program? Who's going to teach the methodology for the other instructors? How many instructors do we need for cover all the classes that we offer in the kids program? And the same thing with the adults. And sometimes the same thing with the women, Nowadays we have a lot of, women's coming to jiu-jitsu. So it's really nice to have female instructors, just to set the example. It's not because women should train under the women. That's nothing with that, Women can teach men's and vice versa, but it's nice to have a black belt women in your team. It's just look nice. The girls feel more comfortable, and that's just nice. And then you have to, but going to your question, I think again, better people make better jiu-jitsu instructors. So you got to search for good people, with good values. Way more important than good jiu-jitsu. Good jiu-jitsu, they can learn, and how to teach jiu-jitsu, they can definitely learn. They don't even need to be good in jiu-jitsu in order to teach a good jiu-jitsu. That's what methodology does. If I tell you that that's going to be the class and going to teach you how to run that class, you don't really need to be skilled enough to apply those techniques when you're training. but you know exactly step by step how to explain the technique to your students, and that's what matters. So again, going back to your question, do I need to be a champion in order to be an instructor? Definitely not. Definitely not. I think you're more valuable for me if you are an instructor that follow the program than if you are a gold medalist, in competition. Because again, I'm not there to show off to my students who you are. I want someone there to take care of my students and teach them what they need to learn. So it doesn't matter for me if you are a champion or not. I like to be surrounded by champions because I think it's a good fight. It just pushes you forward. The mindset of the champion is important. But you don't need to be a champion to be a good instructor, that's for sure.
Fabio, let me ask you this. What do you think are some of the most invaluable incentive programs that you've seen work really well for the business model of jiu-jitsu? Like, do you think that offering referral programs and free trials or a free week, things like that work really well? What have been some of the best practices you think that you've seen as far as like incentive programs go?
Yeah, to be honest, Ryan, we did referral programs a few times. And it never worked.
Really?
I think that people already do, when they do jiu-jitsu and they are excited, they tell everybody they are doing jiu-jitsu. They try to bring people to jiu-jitsu. That's natural, When you set up a program, it doesn't change, They don't really look to the program and say, oh, I'm going to get my gi, so we're going to bring someone that I never talked before. No. They already did. They already tried to convince everybody to do jiu-jitsu, as we did, right, in the beginning. Everybody that's around us, hey, you have to go, you should go. But if the guys didn't come, because they don't want to do it, So I never had a positive experience with those referral programs, okay? I'm not saying that the people are not important, and I think the best advertisement is the mouth-to-mouth, and people keep bringing new students as a referral, but it's not an organized program like member get member, stuff like that. I don't see that working. I think that the best, one thing that definitely works is the testimonials. It's the social proof. So when you say something in your marketing, in your advertisement, and you prove with someone that's real, so yes, your students telling their stories, say, look, I was that type of person, and I started jiu-jitsu, and I changed in that way. This is really strong. But it's not something that, you find the silver bullet. There is no silver bullet, right? Marketing is a process of try and error. You have to try different things. You have to keep doing it. You have to find a different public. And then you find maybe a different thing that, you think that society is living, and then you try to reach that public. So you have to constant doing things. But again, there is no silver bullet. You won't have a program that, you just do that and you're going to be safe. Everybody's going to come to you. No, it won't happen that way. Because people, I think they feel the smell when you try to sell something, right? Those videos that you used to click to see what's going on, you don't click anymore because that's, the clickbait, So like, come on, I'm not that stupid anymore, right? Every time you try to sell something, people are going to react in a way. The marketing genius is that guy that find the trigger that the public still don't think about it. Right? That's the ad that the guy gonna click. And then you have a chance to sell your product and tell about jiu-jitsu and how jiu-jitsu can be good for that person. But if you just try to do the same thing that people were doing, it's a kind of, you just fall on the same trap. You're going to spend all the money and give the money to Meta that doesn't need your money anymore. So try to be smarter, and try new things. But again, this is not easy. This is it's a $1 million question, if I have the answer. But what I can say is that I try different things every time. We're trying different campaigns, and the marketing should go on and on and on and on with no stop. And you, as a school owner, you need to understand the process, how it works, and I would say that you should love it.
Fabio, what do you think are the 3 most important rules that any academy should have?
I think that I would train my instructors to express themselves better, to don't need to use bad words or talk louder than they should, or not treating the students with the respect that they need to, right? And it goes a little bit on education. So even though we have a good instructor that's not as educated as we wish, we should focus on that to get the guy doing better, because this is a crucial thing for the environment of the academy, right? The other thing is the rules should be clear to everybody, and it goes from the basic stuff, like if you allowed people to get late to your class, you allowed anyone to get late to your class. If you don't allow anyone to get late, you don't allow anyone to get late. So that is basically the same thing. So you can be very strict, you can be more flexible, but the rules should be the same. Don't treat people differently, because we are not. And the problem with that is because we came from a very small schools where we knew everybody. So if I knew everybody, I can say, look, I won't let you in because I knew that you were playing video game, and that's why you're late. And I allowed him to come because I know he was working hard and get a lot of commute to get here, because I know everybody. But when you have a successful academy, it's impossible for you to know what your students are doing in their own lives. So you need to set the rules for everybody. And that's respect for everybody. All right? So that's the second thing I believe is important. And I would say that goes to the graduation system, where I see a lot of things happening that I don't personally like, because it treats people differently, and it's just unfair in my point of view. But I understand if you don't have the methodology, if you don't have the system, that's the way it is. But we are talking to what we should do in order to get the point where we have a successful academy. And in order to do that, I have to have the methodology in place. And if I have a methodology, I have the graduation system, and I'm going to treat every single student based on his own journey, and it's not like, hey, everybody's going to get the belt. You do your thing, you get the reward by what you do, So I would say that 3 things like that would help the academy to flow in a way that you're going to create very respectful environment.
Fabio, obviously leading a good environment, leading a good school is something that requires a lot of characteristics of leadership. And if you don't mind, talk to me about the importance of putting your foot down and remaining firm when it comes to running your school and keeping these kinds of things in place. And I think this is a great question for you because you famously had to put your foot down with some of your top competitors in the world in the early 2000s. And that wasn't an easy thing, but being a leader is not easy. And sometimes when you're trying to maintain the vision that you have and the environment that you have to deal with uncomfortable conversations and difficult moments. What advice would you give to new school owners that might face some of those uncomfortable moments to keep things going in the way that it's supposed to go?
Very good question, and I think that's also in our statement, in our culture, which is always doing what is right and not what's convenient. I think people struggle because they want to be nice with everybody, and I don't want to be rude. I don't want to say no. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. They try to do the impossible, right? And I don't want to make Ryan, upset with me because he's so nice guy, and he, even though Ryan is asking me an absurd, So what I always did is, okay, this is how I believe is the best way for everybody, It doesn't mean that I'm gonna pleasure you every time you ask me something, because I set by these rules over here, and that's how I want to build my gym and later my company. And, that's how I believe jiu-jitsu should be taught. And I cannot deviate by that, not a millimeter, because then I'm betraying myself. And every time you try to set a rule for anything, and for some reason you allow someone to sneak in and break that rule, you are betraying everybody that didn't do the wrong thing. So in my opinion, that's unacceptable. For a leader, leader should be the one that people trust at the first place. The guys, as you mentioned, 2000 have, a bunch of champions, under the same roof with their egos, blowing out of their bodies, because they were all champions, but one thing they knew, that everything that they need from me would be under the rules. There was no exception for anybody. So they trust the process. When I told them something, they knew that that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Right? And I think that's, again, comes down to the leadership is the example. Is the only way for you to be a leader is set the example and do what you say. It's not that you can just speak out things that you don't do. People will realize very soon that you are not that person that you're talking about. And if you have that lack of trust, you lose everything. I think so. I think you have to be honest with yourself and be strict with your plan if you think that's the good plan for you and for everybody. That's what I do in my whole of leadership.
Fabio, I've had such a fun time talking with you that I forgot to play the pummel game. I always play a game with everybody. I'm going to take you through a fast version of this game, and then we'll wrap up here. But for people new to the show, I play a game with every guest. It's called the pummel. This is a series of random questions. Some of them are about jiu-jitsu. Some of them have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. Fabio, you've played this before, but I have some new questions I've added since you've been on. So I'm going to ask you some new ones. So here we go. Fabio, what do you think is the largest animal that you could beat in a fight?
Wow. Large animal. Oh, that's a hard one. I don't know. I think I can shoot I have to play with my hands only, or
Just jujitsu. No weapons.
Oh,
Just
just
jujitsu.
jiu-jitsu. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I, oh man, that's hard. I don't see any animal bigger than me that I can beat my head.
So
I
probably
don't know.
something your size or smaller then.
Yeah, definitely smaller. Definitely smaller. Animal of my size already very big.
It's good that you have an understanding of that, because a lot of people that play the game, they don't understand sometimes. Like, man, they have teeth. Other animals have teeth. They have claws.
Oh, come on, man.
So much stronger.
That's why I asked you if I can use the brain and intelligence to bring some weapons to the table. Because that's why the humankind is in the top of the chain. Otherwise, we would be out of the game. For
technology.
A long time, I would say.
A long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago. Well, that's good. That's good that you have a very good sense of your limits as a human being. Even though you're a coral belt, you still understand that, hey man, there's limits. I can't fight a lion necessarily. That's a different thing. If you found a genie lamp and you could have 3 wishes, and the normal genie rules apply, so no killing people and no wishing for more wishes, what 3 wishes would you make?
Oh, there's a good one. I think I would say that I wish I would keep myself strong enough to face the challenge and health, to the I wouldn't say the end of my days, because I accept that at some point we're gonna decline in health, but I would like to have, the life in that land with most of the time healthy and strong enough to face the problems. I wish I can provide to my people, to my family, and I for the rest of my days, and of course I wish to see jiu-jitsu in the place that it deserves, with the recognition that I believe jiu-jitsu should have, because I really believe that jiu-jitsu is an incredible tool for the humankind, and I think it would be this three, I think I have a very good life, and I just want to keep living for as long as I can, at least.
That's beautiful. Great wishes. I like that a lot. What do you think is your secret talent? What's something that you're really good at that people might not know about?
I think that I always find a way. I'm a kind of, I think my mind is unbreakable in a sense. The defeats doesn't really affect me much, and I always get the defeats as a lesson to make me stronger and smarter. And when I realize that I can go that way, I'm gonna find a different path to go. So I think that's an important quality to keep going.
That's great. I like that a lot. Adaptability too, like you were saying earlier.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
That's excellent. What do you think is your favorite bad food to eat? When you eat junk food, what do you like to have?
I just had an hamburger yesterday. It was amazing, and I made it myself, and it was approved by my wife that didn't really eat meat a lot, so it was approved. It was very good, and hamburger, I think, is the favorite fast food. Yeah,
the burger's probably my choice as well. Burger and pizza. What's your most hated food? What's something you cannot eat no matter what?
I don't really have. I think I have. My mother raised me in the way that we could complain about food, and we have a lot of diversity in our plate. I remember don't liking liver. But I used to eat a lot. Because my mother put at least once a week, and I had to eat. But that's not something that I eat often, or ask for, I would say, I'd say liver.
Liver.
Even
Yeah,
though it's one of the best foods, right? If
oh
they
yeah,
say
nutrient
that
density. Oh
nutrient
yeah,
density is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, I already ate my portion. When I was,
You've had your fill, yeah.
yeah.
What do you think is your biggest phobia? Well, so we talked about earlier how I can't go in water because of sharks. What's yours? What's your biggest phobia?
You know what I hate is when you go bad and the sheets are, under the foam and you can really move your feet.
Oh yeah.
That's
They're like
awful
pinned.
for me, man.
Yeah.
Yes, come on, I have to almost wrap up the whole thing, and so that's the phobia, get my feet locked
By the sheets. You have to start using your grip breaking power,
yeah,
just like rip
exactly,
yeah.
You know what? I remember once when I hurt my back, I was, exhausted by the day of training. I was really tired, and then I went bad. I got my feet locked, and I tried to pull, but it was so deep, the sheet, So I pulled it really hard, and I fucked my back.
Oh, that sucks.
Get a muscle contract and say, man, I can't believe that I got hurt. Ready to sleep,
The sheets won. You beat your opponents that day, but your sheets won.
That's the size of the phobia that I have.
That's great. Who's your soccer team in Brazil?
Botafogo.
Botafogo.
Yeah, it's the leading team now. For the second year in a row, we're leading the bit of the tournament. But I'm bad that we're gonna lose at the end. But
that's awesome. Who's your favorite superhero?
Superhero. You know that I don't really love superheroes. When I was a kid, I used to watch, of course, all the cartoons and they always found something that I didn't like the Superman. I think, come on, this guy's so weak, the kryptonite, come on, and Batman was that, second version that was like, fancy guy who's, and so I always find something that I didn't like. So I don't know which my favorite is. I would say Batman, maybe, yeah. That dude's just smart.
That's a good one. That's a good one. If you could have a superpower, what would you choose?
Well, superpower. I become invisible, I guess.
Become invisible. That'd be a good one. You get in a lot of trouble with that one for sure. You could use that in all kinds of ways.
Look at it.
Exactly. Yeah. Go places you're not supposed to be, and cutting lines. You could go to soccer games or theaters, not pay to get in. That'd be a good one. Fabio, if you know Mount Rushmore in the United States, the mountain with the four faces of the presidents.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So if jiu-jitsu had a Mount Rushmore, what four faces would you put on it?
Oh, I would say Master Carlos Gracie, Master Helio Gracie, Master Carson Gracie, and Master Halls Gracie.
Great lineup. Great choices.
Yeah.
Also, interesting note, many people who have been on the show have put your face on there too, just so you know.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, you've been added by more than a couple people. So great lineup. I like those choices a lot. Yeah. What's your favorite submission in jiu-jitsu?
Choke from the mount.
Jump from the mount. Excellent. Excellent. What is your, pick another one for you here. Got two more questions for you. What do you think is, what was the first car you owned?
My first car?
Yeah.
Oh, my first car was a Volkswagen Gol that I got when I was in university and I turned 20. My father gave me the first car, and he said, "Here's your first and your last car that I'm gonna give to you."
That's awesome.
So now,
so treat it well,
own, So take it carefully, and you're gonna build your your own thing from there. You know, you not start from the scratch, but it was a very simple car, but what's brand new was a great gift.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I also like the additional gift of like teaching you to work for things after that. Like, this is it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
take care of it, and everything else you got to earn yourself. That's awesome. I love that. Final question for the Pummel game, Fabio. If a zombie apocalypse happens right now in Sao Paulo, what's the first thing you do?
Zombie apocalypse.
Starts in Sao Paulo.
I would try to fight.
Yeah, you'd fight that. You take the zombies on.
I would try to fight. And whatever defense line the humankind built, I would try to face the problem, and protect my family and my friends and whoever needs the protection.
If a zombie apocalypse did happen here, I think you'd be one of the first people I'd try to call. Having a coral belt on the zombie apocalypse team is that's a good selection, I think. That's a good selection.
I'm not sure if someone's going to respect that, I'll probably get my shotgun instead,
And Fabio, that was the final question for the Pummel game. Congratulations, you win. You got your double underhooks.
Oh, thank you very much. I would love it. Double underhook's my favorite.
Fabio, in closing, what are some of your major goals for 2024? What are some things you hope to accomplish this year?
We have a lot of things to do. We just reached the half of the year. We are, at Alliance, building our own schools right now. So London and Jardines were the first, and now we are, dealing with new locations for the U.S. and also in the Middle East. So that's the plan. We are probably launching Alliance e-commerce in the next couple months. So it's a place where all the Alliance fans can find our products with different suppliers. And, I think it's going to be something really good and cool for our fans and students. And yes, and keep doing it, and keep teaching. And we are now moving towards teaching more the beginners than the advanced. So we are bringing all the top instructors from our school down the line to take care of the beginners, instead of keeping the most decorated instructors in the competition class or in the advanced group. We are bringing them down in order to really teach the fundamentals in the best way possible in our schools. So this is a new move that we're doing, and I hope people follow, because I think that's going to be very important for Jiu-Jitsu in general. So I'm just sharing with you guys what I'm doing now, so we can start together the same move. And I think that's the best way to grow the number of your students, bring more people to Jiu-Jitsu. Is using the best names in the sport to take care of the people that never did Jiu-Jitsu before.
Well, folks, unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. Fabio, it is always a pleasure and an honor to get to pick your brain. Thank you for sharing all this tremendous knowledge you gave today. Like I said, a lot of listeners are on their path to become black belts, and a lot of them will probably want to aspire to open a school someday. So you pretty much gave a masterclass today on what to do and what not to do, and it's really appreciated. You're always welcome back on the show anytime you want to come back.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to talk to you again. I'm open to everybody that in your audience to, if you want to reach me out, go to my, social media, and you can ask whatever questions you like, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And speaking of social media, guys, if you want to keep up with Fabio, it's easy to do so. He's active on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube, all under the same handle, Fabio Gurgel. On YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe and hit the little bell icon to get notified when he adds new content. Also, guys, if you want more information in general about Fabio's team, check out allianceofficial.com. Great place to find places to train, seminars coming up, more information about their affiliation, and everything else related to Alliance. And also, guys, if you're ever visiting Sao Paulo, Brazil, he's got one of the best schools in the world. So visit Alliance. He's going to be moving to a new location with 9 different training mats, which is going to be pretty impressive to see. So So drop in and get some training if you're ever visiting. If you can't make it to Sao Paulo, you can learn from Fabio anywhere in the world here at BJJFanatics.com. He's got several instructionals with us, so make sure you type his name into BJJ Fanatics and find that knowledge. He has great instructionals with us. And that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the BJJ Fanatics podcast.